What?
Did you guys hear that too?
Yeah.
That's a thing now, I guess.
Right, thanks. That was frightening. All right. Thanks for tuning into the 6-3 podcast. It is being recorded. I'm your host, Joel, my co-host, Isaiah, and Ben. So last couple of weeks, it's been a really hot button issue with players swinging on 3-0 counts of massive leads. Yermin Mercedes was one of them. Last year was Fernando Tatis Jr. And they're all being told they have to apologize, or their managers, like Tony La Russa, like to bash them. So here's the conversation. What are some unwritten rules in sports, and do they make any level of sense? So let's start with that one. Swinging with a 3-0 count with a big lead. Is that okay?
Yeah,
yes.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yep.
So here's the thing. Like, I understand like if the other team's frustrated about it, then don't put a catcher in to pitch. You know what I mean? Like at that point, like you don't even have an actual pitcher in the game trying to get this guy. You've already thrown away all kinds of respect the game talk because you're not even respecting the game enough to put a real pitcher in to pitch. So you know what? At that point, anything goes. And I'm not saying like you need to, it's not like he showed up, the Twins. It's not like, he was showboating around, yelling at the other team or anything when he hit it. Like, just hit the ball and he hit it and he jogged around the bases. It wasn't like he was just being completely obnoxious and outrageous about it and just showing up the other team. He hit the home run and jog around the bases. And the way these baseball contracts are nowadays too, especially if you're a player like Yermin Mercedes, who is a 28-year-old rookie who's been pretty much languishing in the minor leagues up until this point. Like, what if there's a clause in a contract somewhere where if he hits 25 home runs this year, he gets a little bit of extra money, right? What if he finished with 24 home runs and he thinks back and he's like, should have swung at that 3-0 meatball. You know what I mean? Like you just can't think about it that way. You can't, it's just an old school way of thinking, I'm not trying to show up the other team. He's not showing up the other team. Like all he's doing is he's just doing his best out there. And, the other team needs to do their best out there too if they're worried about it, right? And they obviously weren't because they didn't put a pitcher in. So I have no problem with that.
So in other circumstances, what if they were out of pitchers? You only have 26 people on that roster.
That's fine. Dude. If they're out of pitchers, that's okay. I mean, that's at that point, you know what? That is what it is. And maybe they were like, look, we can't just waste another bullpen arm. We're taxed. I mean, the Twins were pretty much taxed if you just looking. I mean, they were done, right? They were not going to waste another bullpen arm. That's fine and dandy, but then you can't take exception to a guy trying to hit a home run. Like, I mean, in my opinion, it comes with the territory. It is what it is. Like, live with the result of your catcher pitching is the way I would look at it, regardless of how it came about.
If my 18-month-old niece walks up to the plate and throws me a meatball, I'm swinging to the fences, dude.
Yeah. You don't learn today what it feels like. And
I think, you hear them the most often come up in baseball, specifically, like unwritten rules, and them being broken, I guess. I just think, baseball, okay, I know you guys like baseball. Ben, I know you play baseball. I think, to me, baseball is kind of dying out. It's just not gaining viewership. They have not changed with the times of, like the NBA. I know they do a lot of things and make a lot of statements that a lot of people don't like, but they've grown with the internet age. They know how to market their franchises, and they know how to market their league. If there's something crazy that happens in an NBA game, if something crazy happens in one of these 3 games, we're all going to know it by tomorrow morning because we're going to see highlights, we're going to see video clips, we're going to see something. Same with football, same with a bit with hockey. They just don't have a ton of exposure in general. But baseball, gets really butthurt about people sharing highlights, and they're really trying to keep the game so small because of all these unwritten things that they think need to be followed, that fans like me who aren't fans of, I'm not going to just watch baseball on a Saturday. I'm not going to watch a Tigers game unless I'm going to a Tigers game. I'm not just going to be you know what, I just want to sit down and watch the Tigers game. But if I just saw cool things happening, if I just I know Tatis Jr. because of like some of those instances, and just he's like a cool dude, like he's just a cool player, and you see him hit bombs and you see him like do stuff, and you're just like, oh, I'd tune in to see that.
Yeah.
But if they keep shoving it down people's throat that they're not supposed to express themselves, they're not supposed to like showboat a little bit, like you gotta let it happen. Like that's one thing with like the NBA again. Like if Giannis dunks on someone and just like I think of like Sean Kemp. We all know the clip of Sean Kemp dunking on someone and pointing at him and going like this. Like that's hilarious. Like
right.
People watch that and people see.
I was going to say even Michael Jordan closing his eyes on a free throw.
Yeah, or like doing this.
Yeah,
like the shrug. It's like it's now a thing. Like if you have a NBA game where you make a player and can pick celebrations, there's one called the shrug. Like I think the MLB The Show. I don't know if they have this because I don't buy those games, but like, they should have a button where if you hit a home run, you could bat flip. Like
they do actually.
There you go.
When you edit or create a player, you can do like their home run celebration.
Yeah. So like bat flips are sick, dude. Like chuck that bat into the stands for all I care. But like all these old Tony La Russas are like, oh, dude, bat flips, you need to show some respect. It's like, dude, come on. Like if you want the game to grow, you got to let these young guys be who they are. Like you got to let them do stuff. And I mean, there's some instances where like, yeah, if Mercedes like hit that 3-0 home run and was just like bat flipping and like spouting off, then it's like, okay, dude, like calm down.
Right.
But they don't.
You're already up by 9 runs, but like,
but he's not doing that.
Yeah,
he's not doing it.
So in my recollection, nobody has done that when they're up by a ton of points or runs and celebrate like a loser. Nobody. I've never seen them.
Unless it's something that like happened in a previous game where like they were pissed at the pitcher and then they hit a home run and like to go up 6-0, then they kind of might do a little something. But like that's cool. Like the drama's funny. Like Bryce Harper charging the mound and throwing his hat to third base or his helmet to third base. Like that's funny. Like I know it doesn't like it's not what people want. The MLB wants people to think of it, and I understand that. But like I don't know, man. Like some of those rules, like some of them I get are like dangerous. Like throwing at pitcher or throwing at hitters for like no reason or like just doing something like
there's always a reason.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you have to make up a reason of like, well, he texted my sister. Like, calm down, man. Like, and people like, so I don't know. Like, I think the cool stuff that's harmless, like it's harmless. It is harmless to hit a 3-0 home run. Right. No one like it's harmless. But some of those ones, like if it's like throwing behind someone's head or like in this situation doing something like that, I get those. But some of them, like people just need to get their like change their wet pants, dude.
Yeah, well, I think in baseball too, you can't waste at bats. Like it's already a sport that's like like another knock on baseball is like it's considered success to hit a ball 30% of the time. Like.
Yeah, it's too hard to waste at bats. So if
you can't waste at bats.
Like you got to just take it.
Yep. Yeah, and I think obviously you also alluded to other ones like don't pimp your homer, like but bat flipping or celebrating around the bases, especially in walk-off situations, you definitely deserve that crap.
Yeah. It'd be one thing if like you see guys and you don't very often, like, but it'd be one thing if you see guys like consistently when they're up like 7 or 8 runs, just like completely showing up the other team.
Oh yeah,
that's way different, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? If you hit a home run and you're up 8-0, and you know you're excited about it for yourself, and you jog around the bases and you go celebrate with your teammates, whatever, man. Like it's not the ones that you're seeing them pimp are the ones where it's like, man, we were down 2-0, I just hit a 3-run tank in the 8th inning, and now we're up. Like those are the ones that you see people getting fired up about. Like those are the ones that like I want to see people throwing the bat 20 feet in the air and celebrating. Like those are the ones that we need. Baseball needs that, like, because it's fun. Like I said, it's fun. I mean, baseball, like Joel was kind of alluding to, is so hard, and like there's so much like stuff where it's like, man, like it's just so difficult. 3 out of 10 is extreme success in the game as far as a hitter goes. You don't have like slam dunks every other time down the court and just like crazy plays that like it's not a free flowing game, right? Unlike a basketball where it's just highlight. It can be like a basketball game, like you can have an entire game full of highlight reel performances, like just back and forth, especially like a high level NBA game or a crazy good college game. That like you could sit there and you're like, man, I saw some crazy stuff the whole game, right? But baseball's just not free flowing like that. It's just not the nature of the sport. Yeah. So I think they need the flair. They need, like Isaiah alluded to it. It's not, I wouldn't say it's dying, but it's not reaching the audience that it needs to reach. And it's hindering itself. It's hindering itself.
And I think like if you suppress that for too long,
people
like you like it's like it's obviously a little different because it's a group of people, but like it's something like where like someone doesn't have the ability to do something, and then once they do, they way overdo it. Like I think of the NFL with celebrations. They said they couldn't do them for a while, and then when they got rid of them, people were like, it was annoying. Like it got to a point where, and every time the defense gets an interception and they have to go in front of the camera, the whole entire 11-man roster needs to go in front of the camera. I hate it. It's stupid.
Yeah, it gets.
But if the NFL, like, I got it like the first couple years because they finally could celebrate, they could pop off.
Right.
So they suppressed it for too long. But if you do that, then all of a sudden when you allow it, because you're like, oh, we can't, like people are just giving us crap for not allowing this. Like then people are gonna get sick of it.
Right, and it's gonna become uncomfortable. Right.
Yeah, you got to let it happen.
It's almost
every now and then because, like you said, Ben, like it doesn't happen that often. Like there isn't just. It's not like every. And that's the thing. Like with the NBA, they never really poo-pooed anyone for celebrating, and you don't see a big celebration every dunk.
No.
But like if they said you can't celebrate on dunks, and then 10 years later they let it go, everyone celebrate every single dunk.
Right.
And it would be like, okay, this is too much. But right now they're just like it's only like big moments or like big posters or something, like really cool moments, and they know something was awesome. But like in baseball, there aren't those type of opportunities, so just let them do it.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think, just from myself, like playing and stuff like that, like you have to like, and I learned this growing up, like, because I've always like, I feel like I leaned toward the old school way of thinking on a lot of things, and I still probably do, but like, you just have to play with like emotion, because like as a young fan, you love to see that, and as a player, like you want to be able to play with emotion in the game, because what it's doing is it's not going to attract a younger kid who's like 6 years old to the sport in general. Like you got to keep kids to want to play the sport if you want to grow your sport. Like that's got to be a thing. And it's baseball is such a big sport in like the Latin American community and the Latin American countries and stuff like that, and they play with flair. Like there's no doubt that those guys play with a different level of flair than most like everyday white dudes that play the game, right? And those guys are fun to watch. Like I mean, Tatis Jr., probably the most electric dude in baseball right now, and he's fun to watch. And like Tim Anderson, extremely fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like guys like that, fun to watch. And that they're appointment television. Anytime you watch them, and they might go 0 for 4, but still at the end, you're kind of at the edge of your seat when you're watching him play, because you're like, dude, if he hits this out, like, I want to see what he does. Like, I want to see,
There's a player right now in like one of the Central American leagues who's like chubby and has like blonde hair, and like he like had one where he hit a home run and went down to one knee, and like. I have no clue who this person is. He's not in the MLB. But just seeing that, like, I'm like, that's hilarious. Like, that's awesome. Like, I don't know the name, but, like, it's awesome. It's hilarious. And it happened, like, twice. And, like, people are, like, in MLB would be like, oh, my goodness. But, like, it's kind of funny. He threw, like, a 43-mile-per-hour curveball and, like, struck some guy out. It's funny.
Stuff like that you need to see. Like, because in my opinion, it just attracts people to the game. So, I don't know. The baseball's got a long way to go as far as that goes. There's too many old heads still in the game who haven't adapted, and there's so many old managers. And we can talk about it a little bit. Like if you want to get into the throwing at people, I mean that's such an old school thing. And like there's certain instances. Don't get me wrong. Like if the pitcher has a beef with a guy and like it gets dangerous. That's the part where it's like, man, that's the part where I think the MLB is like, man, we can't allow this because these players make so much money.
Yeah, you don't need a bunch of Kevin Pillar sitting around.
Yeah, these players make so much money, and they're just getting, why would we allow them to go get drilled, right? Which is why, like Mercedes got thrown at the other day, and then they suspended whoever threw at him, Tyler Duffy or whatever his name. That guy's an idiot. But anyway, whoever threw at him, they suspended him like 3 or 4 games. He didn't even hit him. He just threw behind him. And And the MLB's trying to get that out of the game, which I sort of understand, but like there's so many old school managers who grew up in the game in the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s, and that's just been a part of the game forever. So I don't know if you're ever really going to completely eliminate that part of the game. And I don't think most players are throwing at people's heads anymore. Like I don't think that's the thing, but I just don't. I don't know. Like from a pitcher's perspective, in certain situations, like I don't know. I talked to Joel a little bit before the podcast, and like I don't know. We can talk about it. Like if a guy bunts late in the game, if I was throwing a no hitter in the 8th inning, and my team is up by more than like 3 or 4 runs, and a guy bunts to break up the no hitter, I'm probably gonna try to hit that guy in the face the next time up. Like just because like
but that's like malicious. That's just
like that's just stupid though. You know what I mean? Like so that's another like unwritten rule. Like don't bunt to break up a no hitter. Like I think a lot of these are completely situational. Like okay, like if it's a 1-0 game and someone's throwing a no hitter and you know somebody bunts to get on base, it's a 1-0 game. Like they should be trying to get on base any way possible. Yep. If it's like 8-0 and it's a 7th inning, a guy's throwing a no hitter and someone bunts to get on base, I'd be pretty pissed if I was a pitcher at that point. Like, because like that's kind of ridiculous. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Trying to like read the situation essentially. I mean,
read the room, man. Like,
well, another with a no hitter for baseball. There's talk of don't talk to your pitcher when they're in the middle of a no hitter or a perfect game. Don't talk to them.
I feel like that's all.
Sure, whatever. That's harmless.
I feel like that's all like personal preference. Like some pitchers don't want to be talked to the whole game. Like me, like don't talk to me the whole game. I don't care if I'm giving up 10 runs or if I'm not giving up any runs. Like don't talk to me. I didn't want to be talked to. Like I might talk to the catcher about something.
Is that like, just like the superstition of baseball, or?
Yeah, I think that's just started from superstition. Like you don't talk about a no hitter. Like announcer jinxes, they talk about that too. But like, I think that's a superstition where it's like don't talk to the pitcher. Like let him do his thing. Like let him sit in the corner of the dugout and just go out and like stay in his own head. Blah blah blah. Which I guess there's maybe something to that with certain guys, but like other guys I know when Carlos Rodon threw his no hitter earlier this year, he was like very vocally talking to everybody in the dugout, and he didn't care, right? But some guys, they're parked in the corner of the dugout and they don't want to be talked to. So like for me, like I didn't really want people to talk to me just because I was kind of in my own headspace. But like but other people, like they were extremely talkative the whole time. So like my brother, perfect example. Don't talk to that guy when he's playing or when he's pitching.
Don't even say nice job, good inning.
Well, I mean, he might high five you or whatever, but once he sits back down, don't talk to him.
You can usually read the room, even if you watch like live games. Like I've caught a couple on Fox and ESPN baseball games every once in a while this year, and like you can typically even see pitchers. They'll go to the corner of the dugout and they are like secluded. They are away from you. You can read the room and be like, that guy doesn't want me to talk to him, so I'm not going to.
Yeah. This guy's name is Williams Astudillo.
So he's on the Twins.
Is he okay? Is he in the MLB now?
He's like the backup catcher for the Twins.
Yeah.
Yeah. He hit a game-winning home run. It was like a 2-run homer and went down to one knee and then put his arms on his bat like this and then watched it go. Yeah. Like it's the funniest video clip I've ever seen.
Isn't that the guy that your mean Mercedes hit off?
It is. Yes. So that's the whole thing. So like that's the question. Like, is if the other team is completely giving up, clearly because they're putting a backup catcher in to pitch, is it okay? But it's
he got a strikeout with a 46-mile-per-hour ball.
That was a nasty pitch. I watched it. That was good.
Yeah.
Dude, he's 5'9", 230. What a champ.
He's a tank.
In the same breath, though, I remember going from high school baseball and like high school senior year baseball, like they're pitching maybe 70-mile-an-hour fastballs on average. But I remember just going from that to church league slow pitch softball like the next summer. And I was swinging and missing when I first started doing slow pitch. So, like, in the same breath, these guys are seeing 95-mile-an-hour pitches, and then they got to face a 43-mile-an-hour pitch. It's like, okay, it's like a nasty ephus pitch.
Right.
But no, I don't know, man. Like, I just think that, like, I don't know. Unwritten rules are just kind of, like, childish to me. Like, I know it's it's like the old people who do it, but it's like they're trying to like they're just trying to like preserve a part of the game that no one cares about.
Yeah, I think it mattered probably.
They think they're preserving something that just like everyone else is just like, we don't like, okay.
The game is the game. The game is the game, and the game has been played in a certain way for like, especially we're looking at baseball and all games. Like, I mean, there's unwritten rules in every game, really, if you think about it. Like maybe not. I mean, baseball gets the forefront of it because there's so many like just strange things that hey, don't do that. You know what I mean? But but golf.
Well, it's the only time baseball's ever trending is like a bad thing.
Right. And like golf, like don't walk through a guy's line like his putt, right? If
don't talk when he's about to drive.
Yeah, don't. It's that. So that's understandable, actually.
Don't say mashed potatoes.
I understand like the not talking during a drive, like because golf is just so hard. Like you have to focus, like hard. So I understand some of those, but like I think every sport has like this unwritten like general code of conduct, and I think some of it stems from a sportsmanship thing, and I think like not running up the score, that those levels of things. But like I think when there's a difference between like completely stopping playing and trying and sportsmanship. You know what I mean? Like sportsmanship is not like, in my opinion, it's you're being more of a bad sport when you completely stop trying because you're beating up on a team.
For sure.
Like that's more of an insult, in my opinion. Like
I did that to my wife in mini golf, and she got really mad at me.
Yeah, like that's more of an insult.
She was gonna win. There was nothing I could do, so I just hit the ball like 30 times at the last hole, and she was like, it was immature.
Yeah, exactly. See what I mean?
Like, it was my fault. It was not her fault for like getting upset with me. Like it was me for being a little kid.
Yeah, exactly. So those are things that like, those are things, in my opinion, that's more disrespectful. Like I remember when Michigan beat Rutgers like 77-0, like 5 years ago, right? And I remember Rutgers coach after the game, like they were like, "Hey, do you have a problem with that?" Like, and he was like, "No." He's like, by the second half, Michigan had like their 4th string walk-ons in the game, and they were still running train over us. Like, he's like, he's like, why would I ask the other team to stop trying? Like there's no problem with that. And I think that's where we cross the line in certain and I think old heads a lot of times cross the line there. Like you should always be trying to win the game, no matter the situation, whatever. Yes, there's certain situations where it's like, all right, like you call off the dogs, maybe you run the ball more in football, maybe, in baseball, you're not stealing bases up 12-0. You know what I mean? Like things like that. But like, or in the NBA, or in basketball, like you're gonna empty your bench eventually if you're up by 30. You know what I mean? Like, that's I think common sense, and that's sportsmanship. But that doesn't mean the bench players aren't allowed to try. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, and it's like, and when the weird kid that's a senior on the Michigan bench drains a 3, everyone's happy for him. No one's like, oh, you're not allowed to do that. Like, it's like, dude, no, shut up. Like, let him do it.
Exactly.
I don't remember who it was, but in the tournament, like, there's this kid on the team.
Baird.
It was, like, he was on the team forever, and he just drained, like, a deep 3, and everyone was like, yeah, dude, like, this is awesome.
I remember when Blake Hibbets had a layup for Michigan several years.
Yeah.
They were freaking out, and that's like that. Those are cool moments, in my opinion. But some people literally think about things like that, like, oh, they shouldn't score anymore. Like, you're not going to tell kids to anybody, even professional athletes, to stop trying. You know what I mean? That's when
and we talked about that with college football when like Clemson beats up on Elon University 70-0 in like week 1 of the season. Well, like, but by the start of the third quarter, Clemson's got their 3rd stringers in. But the 3rd stringers, they don't get an opportunity to play every single week, if not the rest of the season. They're going to give it their 100% effort.
Right. Exactly.
So I just I don't know. The whole conversation on rules boils down to me of like, there's some that are good for like
sportsmanship.
Sportsmanship, and just like there are some unwritten rules that like genuinely make it so the other person can't do their job, like golf. Like that's a huge one. There's a lot of stuff in tennis. Like one of my favorite things in tennis is when the umpire gets really pissed off at the crowd because they won't shut up. Like you just don't talk. Like, you don't move around. Like, if the guy's serving, I'm not going, hey, like, I'm not doing that, because that
would be interesting, though. That would be
legitimately makes him play worse. It doesn't help me.
Right.
It makes him worse. So, like, I'm saying in that, like, but in the ones where it's just, it doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. It, like, doesn't really do much. Like, just let it go.
I mean, but clearly it hurts some people's feelings. Like, the internet was split 40-60 on baseball about the 3-0 pit.
So baseball, I don't know why. I don't know why it's the way it is. Like, I have an entire book on the unwritten rules and, like, baseball codes and, like, different things and, like, code of conduct and things. And it's probably stems from, like, it was always known as a gentleman's game growing up, right? So, you know, it was always known as, like, you know, the whole premise of baseball is every guy gets their fair shot, right? There's no time. There's no, like, time limit on the game, right? Like, everybody gets the same amount of at-bats, you get the same amount of outs, and that's how you do it, right? So that's the whole premise behind the game, right? And the thought is, you know, I don't know. I think that just kind of evolved to, like, something more, right? To where it's like, you must respect the game. You must respect your other, you know, your opponent. Whatever, man. Like, I like to see a little disrespect out there. Like, maybe, you know, maybe some beef out there. I like to see some of that. That's more entertaining, in my opinion, than just, you know, hey, this isn't golf, right? Completely different sport. Like, that's my problem with it, is baseball is, like, trying to, you know, it's trying to be something that it doesn't need to be. It's trying to go away from something that that's gonna help it grow. And that's the frustrating thing as a, you know, enormous baseball fan. That's frustrating to see, because you want to see it grow.
So I looked up unwritten rules, and this is on MLB.com. So
the actual site.
I just want to read a couple, and I want to tell you, like, just a quick answer of, like, is this stupid or not? Okay. So one we've talked about. They wrote this article right after the Tatis Jr. thing last year.
Yeah.
Don't steal bases, swing at 3-0 pitches, or otherwise run up the score when already ahead by a large margin.
Yeah. So,
what's a large margin?
Yeah. So that's, first of all.
So they give the example in 2001, Cleveland trailed Seattle by 12 runs during the 7th inning, and they gave up 5 more runs.
So in my opinion,
I don't know.
So here's my thing. If just play the game, like, you don't need to be stealing bases up 12-0.
Yeah, I get stealing bases.
Yeah, but if you're still out there just hitting nukes, I mean, that's the other team's fault. Like,
yeah. Okay, so
they're throwing meatballs. It's a still strategy game. Pitch around.
This one I think is really stupid. Don't swing at the first pitch after the pitcher has allowed back-to-back home runs.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Dude, I'm cranking it.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
This guy.
Chances are that guy's not throwing a strike anyway. He's probably rattled.
Yeah, I mean, that's just stupid. That's dumb. I have heard that before, and I'm like, no.
Like, I mean, it's interesting to hear that even from, like, a pitcher's perspective. Like,
here's my thing. Like,
I was a hitter and a center fielder, so, like, I don't have any kind of experience. I just know that every time I went up to bat, I'm gonna do my best. Like, I'm not gonna just watch the ball.
If the first pitch is there, then swing at it, and if it's not, or, you know, whatever, then don't. I mean, that's my thing. Like, it doesn't, like, the situation, in my opinion, the game is played in a vacuum. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's pitcher versus hitter. So who cares what's going on around you? Mm-hmm. You're going to do your best.
Okay, don't step on the pitcher's mound, or don't walk in front of the catcher.
So, like, I don't know. That's just always been, like, an etiquette thing, kind of like a golf thing, you know, where it's kind of like, okay.
You don't in the front of the tee box.
Yeah, things like that. That's always just been the case. So I've never, like, done it. I've seen where that's, like, where guys get, like, butthurt over that. I think it's just a little ridiculous.
It's a superstition thing again for me.
Yeah, it's more of a superstition, or like A-Rod got, like, yelled at and, like, thrown at for it, like, in 2007. I remember, like, I don't remember who threw at him, but was freaking out about him. A-Rod's like, I've never heard of that in my life, which A-Rod's a liar, so he 100% had heard of it. But you know, I think it's just, I mean, people make a big deal out of that one. If anybody's making a big deal about that one anymore, they're just, like, 80.
Yeah. When's that Dallas Braden?
Yeah, it was Dallas Braden.
Yeah,
And
he
Braden
he chirped at him, dude.
Yeah, he was freaking out at him when he did it.
Yeah.
Was, get off my mound, blah, blah, blah.
There were some others, but they seemed like either really, really niche or just kind of like whatever. But I don't know. Like, I just think some of them, like, like, I don't know. Like you said, don't give up. Like, if you're going to throw a 70-mile-per-hour meatball, like, someone, like, and I don't think, I don't know. Like, and maybe I don't know baseball enough, but, like, they're just hitting. Like, they're just swinging. They're not like, I'm going to take this to the yard. They're just swinging.
You know how hard it is to hit a home run? Like, you know how hard it is to do that? It's not like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there are times when guys are attempting to hit a home run, but it's it's still very hard to do. Like, a lot of things got to go right in order for you to hit it out, right? So they're not out there just on. It's not like it's not like your manager's putting on the home run sign and you can call the play for the home run. It's not that, you know what I mean? It's not like you're up 50 in a football game and you're throwing bombs. You know what I mean? That's like, in my opinion, like in football, like your coaches have a lot more control over kind of how the game flows and things like that, the play calls and things like that. Like, plays aren't called in baseball. Like it's just kind of, it's all player dictated, right? And how, you know, and situational. So I don't know. A lot of it's overblown. You know, the one that I would agree with is you don't need to be stealing bases up a ton of runs late in the game.
Sure, yeah.
But they stop giving you the stat after a while. They'll just call it defensive indifference.
Yeah, they will. They'll call it defensive indifference because there's 0 point for you to be doing it. Because that's where it gets stupid, right? Mm-hmm. That's where a team could actually be mad. If a guy was if it's like the 7th inning and you're up 10.
It is a free base, though.
He does. But
it's a free base.
But the thing with baseball, and I was gonna make this point anyway, with like whether you're swinging or just trying to move around the bases as much as possible, there have been comebacks in baseball in the 7th inning. Like, people say give up after the 7th inning pretty much. But like, there have been comebacks of like teams scoring 12 runs to even it up again, and you're going into a 14-inning game all of a sudden.
Yeah, you never want to see – I don't want to ever see a team give up, right? I don't want to see them be ridiculous and stealing bases, like I said, by being up a lot. I don't want to see a team give up. Like, I've thought about that. Like, there was a game – we just graduated high school, so I was playing summer ball. And we were playing in a tournament up at Western, and we were down 13-1 with 1 out in the last inning, and we won 14-13. Which is the most ridiculous comeback I've ever seen in my entire life. We hit like 4 home runs in the last. It was insane, right? But I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, man, if you're the other team, and in like when you're younger, you never really like stop playing, right? And you never really think about like the unwritten rules when you're younger like that. But like, if you're the other team, you're thinking, man, we should have like been stealing bases left and right when you're up 4. You know what I mean? Like, we should have put up 25 runs, right? So, in my opinion, you should never stop playing. I do agree with like the stolen base thing, and there's a reason baseball, like, if there's a criteria for it, but if the other team is just giving you the base because they're, you know, then it's not even a stolen base anymore. So there's a reason for that, but I don't ever want to see a team not try anymore just because they're up by a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that goes against the spirit of the game more than pimping home runs or swinging at 3-0 pitches, in my opinion. So because who cares? The dumbest thing that makes me – this will be my last point on this whole 3-0 pitch thing. The dumbest thing about the entire thing is the people who were like, man, I didn't like that. He could have gotten the same pitch 3-1. So what's the difference if he took it 450 to dead center 3-0 or 3-1? It's
still hitters count.
It's still the same result. It's still
hitters count.
It doesn't matter. Why does it matter? Like, it makes no difference. What if it was 0-2 and he did that? Would you have been mad then? It's the same result. Like, that's what I don't understand. So
yeah.